This episode of the Off-Road Podcast is sponsored by Warren, Power Tank, and Medical Gear Outfitters.
Off-Road Podcast, episode 318, how to axle swap a JK, aka how to spend a ton of money.
Tonight, Aaron looks at a map, Jeremy gets a donut, and Ben gets lost. I don't hear the music.
I know, it's because I have to pull it up because I forgot because Ben's not here.
Ah!
Oh, it is not playing from the right place. We'll just go without the music. Welcome to the Off-Road Podcast, a podcast about everything off-road. We cover the news, review products, and interview people in the off-road industry. I'm your host tonight, Jeremy, and I'm here with my co-host Aaron. And Ben is locked out of the studio. Welcome to the show.
You had one job.
I know, one job. Oh, geez.
Oh, man.
The Weekend Review is brought to you by Medical Gear Outfitters. What are you waiting for? Are you waiting to have a casualty on the trail? Check out medicalgearoutfitters.com to get straightened out. Medical Gear Outfitters has everything you need, whether you're going out for the day or traveling on a year-long expedition. Head over there to get off-road specific kits that meet all of your needs. And while you're there, make sure you use Off-Road Podcast for 10% off.
Power Wagon Okie says music fail, and he is correct.
Yeah, yep. And Love to Wander says hello, guys. So appreciate you guys being in the comments. And let us know, we may be having some other audio difficulties. Let us know if our audio is a little off on the show. We'll try to correct it as we go here.
Yep, absolutely. Well,
yeah. Well,
Aaron...
Jeremy, I said it first. What have you been up to?
Well, I got my last 40, so I had to go down to San Diego for work. So on my way home, Ben lives not on the way, but as close to on the way as I am ever.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the closest I am to Bonneville before. Ooh, ouch. Tim says your audio is fine. It's your face that's the problem.
Man, we don't even have Ben on here.
I know. Well, Aaron, since you asked about the audio, I'm going to assume Tim is just talking about you and not talking about me. So I'm good.
Most likely.
So I swung by his house and just grabbed the tire on my way home, which was fantastic because it's been there for probably about a month. I just needed to go grab it. So, and then I ended up
before his kids dig a hole in it.
Or yeah, who knows? Put a hole in it somehow. So I was able to get that and got it mounted up. I need to set the bead and then get it balanced. And then after that, I definitely need to actually weld up my tire carrier so I can actually throw it on the Jeep.
Yeah,
but at least it's here. So I mean, if I'm going off roading, maybe I'll end up throwing it in the Jeep before I get the tire carrier welded up. Who knows? How about you, Aaron? What have you been up to?
Let's see. I have done no off-roading, but I'm doing some planning for an upcoming trip to Christmas Valley. Are you hearing an echo at all? It sounds like a really faint robot echo.
I'm not catching it, but
okay. Well, it might be me. So I'm not really planning the Christmas Valley trip, but I'm planning a little side trip on one of the days where we're going to go overland from where we're camping down to a lake and back, all off road rather than taking any highway. So I think that'll be a fun side trip. It should be like 2-track the whole way, and it's going to be literal high desert. So it should be fun. Man, Tim is just on it tonight. Thanks for joining the comments, Tim. He says he doesn't hear an echo, but my face is still bad. Is my face echoing? Yeah,
I don't know, but it sure lingers.
Yep. Power Wagon Okie does say he hears a slight delay echo. So besides working on that trip, I am still ironing. Uh-oh. That was weird. I'm still ironing out the details for my first shooting event, which is happening this coming Saturday. It's a kids 22 shooting event. So we're going to shoot at like 25, 50, and either 75 or 100 yards. We'll see if we can do that. And then beyond that, I did get to pull some winch line just yesterday. I've got a guy out cutting some trees down at my house, and one of the trees was gonna fall backwards into the road and hit some power lines and be stuck in the middle of the road. So we ran. He called his brother over to help, and while we were rigging up some chain and cable, I was like, I've got some winch line extensions and stuff. So I brought out all my synthetic stuff and hooked up my truck to it, and we put 2 trucks on it. One truck would have been fine, but we put 2 trucks on it, and it didn't even slow the winch motor down to pull the tree the correct direction. So thankfully it didn't fall across the road and take out the power line. That would have been embarrassing, but it wouldn't have been on me. I'm paying this guy to do the work. So
I was going to say it would also be expensive, but not for you if,
Yep.
if you're paying
No.
somebody.
He's bonded and insured as a tree faller. So yeah, but it was fun to break out my gear and talk to him about synthetic lines and stuff like that. He didn't really know much about it. So, and his brother who came out, he had steel cable, and he's like, oh man, I really want to get some of that stuff. I'm like, you should, because it's awesome.
Maybe you shouldn't have done that, because you might have been opening yourself up to some liability if your winch line would have snapped or
Pulling
something
the tree.
gone wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. That's possible.
Yeah.
That's not a
It's
terrible point.
I'm not a lawyer,
Yeah.
and I'm more importantly, I'm not your lawyer.
Did you sleep at a Holiday Inn last night?
I did not. No, I slept at home. Is that where lawyers sleep, Holiday Inn?
No, they've got some sort of commercial like where they're not a doctor, but they slept at a Holiday Inn last night or something like that. I don't know.
Oh, I don't think I've ever seen that commercial.
Yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter. Moving on.
Well, I'm glad to hear that your tree fell the right direction.
Yeah.
Hey guys, we're looking to reach more listeners. We're going to start reading Apple iTunes reviews on air. If you hear yours, send us a message with your address, and we'll send you an Off-Road Podcast sticker. You can find all of our social media by just searching our name. Now, go hit that subscribe button.
We also want to thank our sponsor, Patriot Patch. Head over to patriotpatch.co and check out their selection of great patches, shirts, cleaning mats, signs, and stickers. You can also join the Patch of the Month Club for $15 and receive a patch, matching sticker, and artist proof each month. Power Wagon Okie says he got my joke, so that's all that matters, that somebody laughed at my joke.
Oh, I totally missed it.
Well, the sleeping at the Holiday Inn joke.
Oh, that one. Yeah. I thought there was another joke I missed.
No, Do you want to pull up on your screen share the first news article here about the Gladiator getting half doors?
Not even there yet, man.
Oh, yeah, you're right. We're not. Man.
The news is brought to you by Power Tank, the ultimate mobile onboard air system for performance, versatility, and reliability. They are your source for all air-related accessories. Check them out at powertank.com.
Okay, now you can ask.
Yeah. Here real quick, Love to Wander says, don't see the chat. So there's several different chat streams happening right now. They all get funneled to us. So just so if you're wondering if you're chatting with us and you don't see other people chatting. So some people are on Facebook, some people are in our Facebook group, some people are on Facebook for Overland Radio, and then there is also YouTube. So there's lots of different ways you could be chatting with us. So if you don't see it, don't feel bad. It's we're not making these up to make it sound like people are interacting with us. So yeah, you're right, Tim. That wasn't a Gladiator. Jeremy had a wrong news article pulled up, but for a good reason. So this first article is talking about the Jeep Gladiator finally getting half doors as an option from the factory. It's something called the Tim, you're so observant. You're right. That one doesn't have any doors. This one has the 0 door option, not even the half door option.
Hey, not our article. Boy Motor one.
Yeah, that's right. They should have did a better job with their photos. So apparently the Wrangler, the JL, you could order it with factory half doors, which is what Jeremy's showing right now, early on in 2021. And now finally they're making that as an option for the Jeep truck. Jeremy and I don't understand. The internet tells us that they both use the same door. So why you couldn't get them with the Jeep truck and you could get them with the Jeep wagon, it doesn't make any sense to us. So cool news is that if you have these, it is compatible with your power mirrors and locks, as well as blind spot detection if you use that. I just changed lanes. And there's going to be two different options for them. There's going to be the standard or premium soft top options. It does not go into any sort of detail about what is what as far as premium and standard, other than the price. So if you want the premium, it is $4,995. If you want the standard, it's $4,590. So prepare to take it in the rear for a pair of factory half doors from Jeep.
Yeah, that's kind of insane. So there's not a whole lot of half door options on the market yet for the JL that I could find. Most of them are like the tube doors. But yeah, everything I could find said that the doors are exactly the same on the JL and the JT. And then yeah, I couldn't imagine paying that much for factory half doors. And I guess I should correct myself. They do have the Best Stop. Best Stop has their twill half doors, but I couldn't find anything, at least on Northridge, for some metal half door options other than, fully enclosed metal half door options.
So, yeah, and I'm looking at the article that's linked in there that's talking about the Wrangler half doors, and it says that they're $3,900 for the 4-door version and $4,400 for the 4-door premium version. So why is it so much more money? Why is it $500 to $700 more? That doesn't make any sense. And Tim, you're not going to win that Northridge one. I am. Jeremy got me to enter the contest by buying one item that was really, really cheap, and they're going to pull my winning ticket.
You can enter for free, right?
Oh shoot! I didn't even have to buy that thing.
And plus, it's going to be hard for you to win it because I'm going to win it.
So
I'm gonna win the JT and the JL.
Okay, well, Tim says he'll take the JL. I'll take the JT. You've got a Jeep. I don't even have one, so I need to get one apparently. So I know what this Jeep thing is all about. I'm gonna have to save it for half doors though. Apparently,
just don't buy the factory ones.
Yeah, I know. And I'm curious what the whole difference is between the premium and the non-premium is. Obviously it's $400, but why not just make all of them premium, unless for some reason the fabric doesn't match or something, and so you need it to match some type of fabric, so you need the cheaper version?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Tim says he bought a $1,700 steering box, so he's got a few tickets. I hate to break it to you. I bought axles, tires, wheels. I bought a lot of stuff and didn't win last year, so unfortunately it's not a given.
Yeah. Well, anyways, Jeep half doors are expensive.
Crank and power windows? Maybe. No, well, there's no windows. They're soft upper, or they should be.
Yeah, it does mention a soft upper on them, so I don't totally get it. So if you know any more about stuff, let us know. And shout out to Mike Hybert for chiming in here on Facebook. Our next article is about the Bronco, because what would it be an episode of the Off-Road Podcast without talking Broncos every single week? This one is 3 Broncos are going to the Rebel Rally coming up. If you don't know what the Rebel Rally is, it's an all-women's all women's off-road event where they navigate by map and compass for 7 to 10 days. I can't remember how long it is, but really cool event. Not only do you have to navigate by map and compass, but you have to navigate off-road obstacles and things like that. So a lot of teamwork involved. You got to find checkpoints in the middle of absolutely nowhere. Kind of a neat thing. So there's going to be 3 Broncos here. And as you can see in the picture that Jeremy's got up on the screen, you've got the, why is that one in the middle shorter than the other 2?
Oh, because it's a fake one. It's the wish.com.
It's the wish.com Bronco. Yes.
No, it's the shirt.
Okay. Mike apparently has joined us over on Facebook so he can see the comments. Not a terrible thing. Now you can interact with the other crazies out there. Yeah, Tim, that is a Bronco Sport. Also known as the Ford Escape.
Escape.
So the article mentions that the 2-door and the Escape, sorry, the Sport, that was a Freudian slip. They're going to leave them completely stock for the rally. Then the 4-door is going to be modified with accessories from 4-wheel parts. So I'm curious to know what their accessories are going to be because it doesn't say at all. Yeah, Smittybilt rock sliders, great value lift. I'm not sure what all they're putting on it.
Who knows?
Can you read those stickers? Can you read the stickers on there?
Let's see. Rigid method, 4-wheel parts.
Is that Mickey Thompson? No, those are Goodyear tires. So there's not Mickey Thompson sticker.
I think that's a Goodyear sticker.
Okay. And then the next picture will show another photo of some stickers in the back of it on that back corner. ARB, 4-wheel parts. So they have a fridge in the back or something, probably.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm curious about this article because in this photo, they're all blindfolded.
Yes.
And I want to know if they're blindfolded. My suspicion is that they didn't know what vehicles they were going to be driving. And then I just want to point out.
Don't change the picture yet. Don't change the picture. The lady on the far left, she looks like her left hand, she's got her fingers crossed and she's saying,
oh, yeah,
totally. Sport. Please don't be the Bronco Sport. Please don't be the Bronco Sport. Now change the picture.
It's the Bronco.
Oh, it was the Bronco Sport. Fake a really big smile for the camera.
Just looks like
I drew the short straw.
I think she didn't know she was going to get a Bronco Sport, and they blindfolded them, and then because they have their names on the roof there, and so I think they didn't know which vehicle they were in until they took off the blindfold and saw their names on it, and I think she was a very disappointed camper. But that's just my perspective. I have no idea if that's accurate.
I know. What they probably did do is blindfold them to reveal what they were going to look like. I'm sure they knew what they were getting, but it's a lot of fun to say that she had no idea she was getting the Bronco Sport.
Yeah. Could you imagine if you were like a professional off-road racer and you were told that you're going to get a brand new Bronco for the Rebel Rally, and then you found out that it was a Sport? I'd be devastated.
Just kicking the balls.
Well,
I guess they don't have balls. But
yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, that's fun. That's a good story.
Go prepared with Warren Industries. They produce the first recreation.
Oh no, Jeremy, you bumped it. Fix it, Jeremy. Fix it.
Go prepared with Warren Industries. They produced the first recreational winch in 1959 and lead the industry with their dedication to quality and reliability. When you dig yourself in deep, make sure you have the right tools to get yourself out. Get Warren equipped and go where others can't. Now, let's get ready for adventure and head into our main topic.
What just happened?
As you were running away, it fouled out.
Oops.
That was pretty funny.
I guess it's the technical difficulty show.
The TD. Oh,
Yeah.
that's Andy from Warren is in the comments making the Facebook user thing. So he's the one who said you get the 1989 Escort.
Boo.
Yep.
Anyway, so this week we are talking about how to axle swap a Jeep JK. So we're kind of sticking out of all the stuff that I did and just kind of going over what it would take to just kind of keeping it limited to what it would take to just axle swap a vehicle if you weren't changing up your suspension or anything. And we're really looking at the factory options. So really what you're looking at is ready, huh?
No, I'm just kidding.
You're just trying to make jokes because you don't have the option to just axle swap a vehicle.
It's very true. Although I did axle swap my Nissan, which we'll hear about next week. But mine were CV axles. So, yeah, like Jeremy's saying here, kind of the basis is what it takes to axle swap. It might not be your particular situation because, for instance, Jeremy with the V8 in his had to buy some different components that made things work.
Not for the axles specifically.
For the suspension portion.
Oh, well, we're not talking suspension.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Then maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So we're really talking about, getting axles from Dynatrac or getting the Ultimate Dana 60s from Dana Spicer or the Curry 60 options. So all of these options are a bolt-in option. That's one of the things that makes it really nice is it's pretty easy to just do in your own garage with very minimal welding experience or no welding experience. You don't technically have to weld when you do these axles. There are some things that you can weld, but this isn't going through and taking a set of axles out of a Super Duty and fitting them to your vehicle. This is more talking about the bolt-in option. So the equipment you're going to need a pretty much a full set of tools, just normal hand tools that you'd use to work on your Jeep already. Couple of things that you're going to need that you might not have is a set of jack stands that's tall enough to fully droop the axle from the frame.
How tall of a set of jack stands do you think you need for that?
I mean, it's wholly dependent on your lift. I went with a set that went up to 33 inches tall, and I used most of that. It was very nice to have. So I went with a set of 12-ton jack stands. Way overkill for the vehicle, but it was the only thing that I could get to go up that high. The jack stands I had before, I would just always put them under the axle tube, so that's quite a bit lower than the frame, obviously.
Yeah.
And so I needed new jack stands to go through this. And if you're doing it in quick succession, you can do it with just 2 jack stands. If you're only working on one side, you're working on the front and then you're working on the rear. But since mine was going to take so long, I wanted to pull everything off and get it all ready. I ended up just buying a set of 4. And so it worked out well. So my Jeep sat on jack stands for like 9 months or something, 8 months, who knows? Anyway, so additionally, you're going to need a set of, I think for most of the axles, the Dynatracs for sure, you'll need a set of feeler gauges. So you actually have to set the ABS sensor to the right gap tone ring on the front.
Interesting.
So I'm not sure if the Dana Spicer and the Curry axles require that, but I know it does with the Dynatrac.
Well, feeler gauges are cheap and easy to use, so
absolutely, and they're good to have for some other things. So starting off, obviously you got to remove everything. The first place I started with the drive shafts. So with that, I ended up tying up the drive shafts because I was working by myself. I didn't want it falling and breaking something. So I tied them up and then took the axle side off and then took the transfer case side off. When you're doing the axle swaps, more than likely you're going to be, well, I guess I shouldn't say more than likely. If you're doing just like the Dana 44 swap, like the Ultimate Dana 44, the Pro Rock 44, I don't believe you need to change your drive shaft, but you would definitely want to check with the company on that. But if you're changing up the drive shafts, like I did, and I went to a 1350 U-joint drive shaft, you're going to have to take the flange off of the transfer case. And so you're definitely going to need a flange puller for that, or sorry, a puller for that. So one of the sides you can, and I can't remember if it was a front and a rear now, which is why I probably should have done this sooner, but one of the sides you can just beat it off with like a ball peen hammer.
Tell me more.
The other side, you will not be able to get it off with the ball peen. You will definitely need to use the puller.
Absolutely. A puller? You need a puller for that?
Yeah. Okay. You can't beat it off. You got a puller.
Where do you get a puller from?
So I just actually rented one from the local Napa.
Okay.
So that was kind of nice. They just rented it, and just make sure you get the right size, because I got the wrong size the first time. Had to go back and get the right size.
Okay.
I also did that with my Pittman arm puller. The right size. Yeah. So save yourself a trip and figure out the size before you go. And
unless you live really close and don't mind going and saying hi to those people often.
You got better things to do. You're axle swapping a Jeep. So then from there I ended up jacking the Jeep up, put it on the frame, obviously, take the tires and wheels off, removed all any cables and breather tubes.
What's a cable, like for a locker or something?
Yeah, so obviously mine had lockers front and rear, the e-lockers. I saved myself a little time because I hate fighting with those electrical clips.
Just cut it.
I just cut it. And and I cut it on the Jeep side, so not the axle side. Because I figured whoever is buying this from me might appreciate having the wires already cut, and they can hardwire it in.
Yes, there you go.
Not throwing it into a JK. So I can't remember what they were buying the axles for, but I know they were not buying the axles for a JK. Both of them. So it was easy to do, and I didn't have to fuss with those cables because I hate them. I hate electrical cables, connectors. They're the worst.
Yeah. Well, when you off-road your vehicle and get it full of fine dust and powder and dirt, it grinds into those things, and you can't get them apart. I had that issue with my engine swap and stuff. I really struggled getting some of the connectors apart, and I started like tapping them with a screwdriver and smacking them and stuff, and it would vibrate just enough of the dirt out that I could depress the button and get it to yank apart. The problem is that sometimes you put a whole lot of pressure on it, and then it finally gives, and then you smack your knuckles on stuff. I've done that
many times. Or you break the clip because you start getting frustrated.
Yes.
When I was working on my front axle before, I had to pull the carrier, and to do that you had to disconnect the locker. And I already broke one of those clips once already, so I just had to replace it. So I just said, screw this. I'm just cutting it.
Bye. Clip.
So much easier.
Yeah.
Yep. And so then I went ahead and removed my brake lines, and make sure you have a drip pan handy because it will leak, obviously. Mm-hmm. I ended up just zip tying them up high, so it didn't leak. It stopped leaking as soon as I zip tied it up. Just trying to get it above the low.
I think you'd have to have it above the master cylinder, wouldn't it? Completely just drain out.
You would think mine did.
Yeah.
Mine stopped dripping afterwards. I mean, eventually my master cylinder did get drained, but I started with the fronts and I lost most of the fluid in the rears. Because on the rears I ended up swapping to a different brake line because I rerouted the hard line, and so I just ended up pulling the brake line off, the soft brake line off, and that's where I lost all the fluid, was through the hard line.
Interesting. Okay. Well.
And I found this out after the fact, but it's recommended not to just leave your brake system open to the air for as long as I did, because you can dry out some of the seals in especially in your ABS module.
Oh no.
I did not do that, but I was
That's
concerned
good.
that I had, because I had some trouble. I had some trouble bleeding the system, and I still had a squishy brake pedal. And I think I ended up getting air in my ABS module, because I ended up picking up a scan tool and went ahead and went through the ABS bleed protocol and then bled it one more time, and that fixed the problem for me. So
Well, that's good.
yeah. So just a word to the wise: don't do like I did and take your axles off and then get delayed by the company another 3 months when you took them off a week and a half before they were supposed to get there. Don't do that. Learn from my mistakes.
Well, I wonder if you could just put like a
Yeah,
it's usually like a banjo bolt. If it's a banjo bolt, if you could just put a regular bolt and nut through there and make like a gasket out of thick cardboard or something on each side, just make a little gasket and make it finger tight, and I wonder if it would hold the fluid back.
Well, I think if you just had the right, yeah, that's a good point. I don't know. That's a good question. You could also,
if you could just leave your calipers on, you could just hang your calipers.
That would be the best way. Although then you can't necessarily sell your you can't sell your axles as a complete set.
Without the calipers.
And just a note, if all you're doing is the like the Pro Rock 44, you might not even need to undo your brake lines, because a lot of the upgraded 44s still use the same outers and calipers.
Gotcha.
So you might need to reuse those.
Well, is there anything else that you had to remove off of your truck to get it ready, or your Jeep?
Absolutely. You got to remove the sway bar end links. So I just ended up unbolting them from the axle and tying them up. You also have to do the drag links, the track bar or drag link. Unless you got rear steer. And then also the track bars, and then the shocks, and then the last thing would be the springs, and then the control arms. So at that point, your axle should be disconnected from your Jeep. Mike, what's a good price for JK axles? A lot. I think right now
sorry.
When I purchased my Pro Rock 60s, I believe it was just under 13K for the set, front and rear Pro Rock.
Mike wants to put some JK axles in his WJ. So
I'm sorry.
Takeoffs.
Or he's trying to sell his. I ended up selling a bent front and a good rear for about $1,500. So that's just your mileage is probably going to vary, but
that's those are Rubicon takeoffs though, also, right?
Yeah, those were Rubicon takeoffs.
Yeah. So it's going to be cheaper if you don't want Rubicon axles, if you have other lockers you want to put in it or something like that. Obviously, as far as takeoff axles go, I would expect Rubicons to be the cream of the crop.
Yeah, you can, depending on your area, you can find them for $1,500 for a good set, or sometimes even cheaper. Sometimes if you live near a shop that does a lot of heavy modifications, you might be able to find them for cheaper because they have a larger supply.
Yeah, put your name in the bucket for the next round that come off a rig.
Yeah.
All right, so
onto
you
the
unbolted
install.
everything. Yeah, you unbolted everything. Does it? If you left your tires and wheels on, could you just like roll that axle out from underneath it? Or I guess you'd have to bolt your tires and wheels back on if you took like your brakes off and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if you're like removing everything from the frame side, it would probably be doable. I would think you would want to get the tires off. You could have left them off the whole time probably, but just for convenience and having room to work, I would assume you would want to just take the tires and wheels off.
Yeah.
The stock JK axles were no problem moving. My wife and I could pick up the stock JK axles together and move them around. Two guys, it would be even easier, you know. So it would be, I wouldn't worry about moving those.
But a crate of brand new axles, on the other hand, is a totally different story.
Yes. So now we're on to the install portion. So you got to get the axles moved into place. And I recommend this from experience. If you have access to a trailer and you're picking them up, just bring the trailer. Don't put them in the pickup bed because it's so much easier to drive back with just a pickup
rather than a trailer.
You will probably regret your life decisions.
Unless your trailer bed is as high as a pickup bed, then
true.
It doesn't matter.
Then
the benefit of a trailer is if it's nice and low, that's the benefit.
Lower to the ground and probably more space. So when I got the axles home, I had 6 people come over and thought we can lift these axles, not the set together, but we can lift one at a time. We can lift one axle at a time. We found out very quickly that there was not enough space in the truck bed to get 6 people to get a handle on the axles and
around a crate.
Right. Well, I had completely disassembled the crate except for the bottom of the crate.
Okay, so the sides were off of it.
So just in the pickup bed box, there was just not enough room to everybody get a handle on the axles. So they ended up sitting in my buddy's truck an extra night while my neighbor got a shop crane from his dad. And with the shop crane, it was great. It was easy. The shop crane did it great. My recommendation would be to have proper lifting straps, rigging gear. So I ended up using a tree strap because he didn't bring any rigging gear. So I ended up using a tree strap and a ratchet strap. And I'm very thankful that ratchet strap didn't fail.
When you say a shop crane, are you talking about like what people use to pull an engine out of like an engine hoist?
Yep. Also known as an engine hoist.
Okay. Well, honestly, ratchet straps can hold several hundred pounds, if not 1,000 pounds. So depending on how cheap of a ratchet strap you got. So if it's only holding up half of the axle weight, it's probably fine.
Except for when you factor in that you have to tie the ratchet strap, which significantly weakens it.
That's true.
Yeah. So we tied a ratchet strap and then used that. And that was probably not the best decision, but it worked.
All right.
I'll tell you that was when the axles are, 6 feet up in the air to clear the truck bed, the walls of the truck bed, you're kind of it's kind of butt clenching the whole time because you don't want to drop the axle on a truck, and B, you don't want to drop the axle on your driveway.
Yes, I still feel like how those got loaded was even sketchier.
Oh yeah.
A dude on a tractor with COVID.
Do you want to go through that?
We don't need to.
Okay.
Yeah, but that was
sketchy.
that
Yeah.
was really
No,
sketchy.
I think we should go through it. So the way they were loaded, so they got shipped to a buddy's house. The way they got loaded is we had a tractor. We couldn't just pick up we tried running a chain around the bottom and just lifting it with the bucket, and that didn't work. So then we put some forks on it and got it from the side and set it down on one of the supports was just inside the truck bed, not on the tailgate.
Mm-hmm.
And we used a high lift jack to support the free end while the tractor moved to the back to pick up the back end and push it into the truck. It ended up working, but it was sketchy the whole time through.
So sketchy. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
Not the appropriate way to do it,
No,
but that's okay.
for sure. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, so you got him out of the truck, got him to the ground safely. What does it take to put those in?
Well, if I were to do it again, I would do a better job of trying to approximate where the axles were going to sit. So if I were just doing this without doing a new lift, so you're reusing everything. So in theory, all your control arms are probably set pretty close, and it's already pretty centered. I guess if you're doing it that way, then I would probably just start bolting things up and then make adjustments. You're going to be pretty close. But for me, I had all new control arms. I had all new springs, shocks, the whole kit and caboodle. So Metal Cloak is my lift, and they give you some preset adjustments. They say, hey, if you have this lift, start here and then work your way from there. Those numbers ended up not being very close for me. And so I wish what I would have done is set up the axle pretty centered and pretty close to where I thought ride height would be, just on some jack stands, and set the pinion angle right, and then adjust the control arms to suit wherever that got set. And that's probably what I'd have done. Probably would have got me a little bit closer and been a little bit less trial and error on the control arms after the fact. But if you are just reusing everything, in theory, you just bolt everything back up. So you pretty much go in reverse order. So you'd start with the control arms. So what I would do is start with the control arms, throw the springs in, throw the brake lines and ABS sensors back on, and just get the Jeep on its own weight, with just sitting on its own weight. And then I would go ahead and
what do you mean sitting on its own weight? So you've got everything's bolted to the axle, and the axle's bolted and those components are bolted to the Jeep.
Well, I wouldn't put the shocks back on, but I would put pretty much everything back on and just get it set back onto its own weight. So you're probably at that point resting on jack stands under the axle tubes.
Okay.
And then from there, you can kind of get it close to being center. And you might have to just do it on just the jack, but make sure you're not climbing underneath it. Just because you're going to have to try to move the axle around. So having the jack on wheels would be probably nice for this, because you're going to need to, you'll be trying to set the pinion angle and then center the axle under the Jeep, and then install the track bar, and then throw the drag link back on. And then I would go ahead and put it back up on the jack stands and remove the springs and install the shocks. And then from there, install the tires and check the clearances on everything. So I'd cycle the axle, stuff one side and droop one side, and set your bump stops. So you're going to be checking for clearances on like the fender, maybe the track bar on the differential, the track bar on the engine, the drag link on the engine. I've seen people who are like contacting a water pump on the bottom of your engine. Looking at the shock on to the frame, see if when you droop one side, do you start hitting the frame with your shock? That sort of thing. Checking your exhaust, your drag, your track bars on your exhaust. Just look at everything you possibly can look at, and just make sure you're not hitting anything. And that's kind of where you're going to set your bump stops. I wish I had done that before. I didn't do that, and it's been a lot of trial and error of setting bump stops and adjusting them, and sometimes they're hard to do. And with some bump stops, with some bump stop extensions, you actually have to pull like the front springs to get the bump stops out so you can change them up. So you're just going to save yourself a lot of hassle if you can just do it with just doing it with a floor jack.
I'm going to have to figure out some of this setting stuff up, because I basically just threw that suspension underneath my truck, threw bump stops on there, and had the truck aligned poorly, and then went to Moab. So, I mean, I didn't have time to do all that stuff, but
yeah.
I need to cycle stuff around and everything, especially if I'm going to upgrade tire sizes.
Yeah. Oh, the other thing is make sure you're not bottoming out your shock before you bottom out your bump stop.
Yes.
Because most shocks can be used as a limiting strap as long as you're not doing something crazy like jumping the thing. But they definitely don't like to be used as bump stops.
Gotcha.
And then from there, just remove the tires and shocks, and then reinstall the springs, and then reinstall the shocks, and then wire up any of your lockers or your diff breathers. And then you're pretty much ready to go and throw the tires back on and check the alignment. So
I like your comment here that
you
get the alignment done from a qualified shop.
Yeah.
Did you put that in there for Ben?
So when I say check the alignment, I mean eyeball it. So I ended up doing most of the alignment and got it pretty close, and then took it to the shop. My thoughts is I kind of want them to touch the least amount of stuff that they have to, because it's the less amount of stuff for them to maybe get wrong.
Good point. Especially
depending on the shop you're taking it to. If all they're checking is the things that they're used to doing, like your tie rod length and that sort of thing, check your toe in. It's easy for them. I got mine pretty close. I think the only thing that was wrong was the toe, and the thrust angle was the only thing that the shop adjusted when I took it in. Everything else was in spec. And then from there, I mean, I didn't put, you have to install your drive shafts. So it's easiest on the JKs to install the drive shafts when the tires are on the ground. So the way that the drive shafts and the suspension works is as the Jeep squats to ride height, so the axles travel upwards, your drive shaft actually gets shorter. Longer. Sorry. No. Your drive shaft gets longer. You're looking like
No, like if you put your hand on top of the Jeep and were able to squish it down,
your drive shaft would get longer until
your axle rotates back away from the
so you have an axle.
Yep, this is my axle, and this is your transfer case.
This is a transfer case. You have control arms. Does that make sense? So as the suspension droops, your axle gets closer to your transfer case.
Yeah, I guess it seems to me like if it was drooping, it's going to get longer. So it droops towards your transfer case. It
Yeah.
doesn't droop straight down, is what you're saying.
Correct. And so the longest it'll be is where those, where you're.
I guess so. I guess so with how leaf springs are attached to it. That
No, not
makes
leaf
sense.
springs.
No, not with
No.
leaf springs.
Not leaf springs.
Because leaf springs are basically hinged at the front. If you're talking about the rear, so that would let it.
There's no leaf springs on a JK.
Well, sure, but I guess what I was visualizing was with leaf springs. But
With leaf springs. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Who knows? I don't even know what I'm talking about. Apparently.
Yeah. So you're gonna have to install the new flanges for the drive shafts. Just as a note with the JKs, you only reuse. What's that?
Do you have to beat them on?
No, you just beat them on and then turn them to spec.
Okay.
You'll on the JKs, you'll only end up reusing if you're doing the 1350 drive shafts. You'll only end up reusing one of the. There's a large O-ring, and you only have to reuse it on one side. The other side doesn't leak fluid the way that the flange is designed. So just as a heads up, it'll be pretty clear when you're looking at it that there's a spot for an O-ring and the other one won't be a spot for an O-ring. And if you try to put the O-ring, I believe it was in the rear, it's not going to work. Trust me.
One thing I didn't see was talking about like filling things with fluid. When you buy these axles from the manufacturer, they come full of fluid?
So they do come full of fluid, but so mine were, thanks. That's a good point. Mine were full of fluid, but they definitely tell you to check the fluid. And I think it's mostly in case they effed up, they can push the blame onto you.
Sure.
Yeah. No O-rings in the rear. I don't know if he's joking with that, Tim.
Yes. That's good life advice in general.
Yeah, it is. Yep.
So you have to check to make sure that they put enough fluid in your diffs just to make sure they didn't screw up.
Yeah, absolutely. And then also bleed your brakes if you had to take the brakes off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think there's really any other fluids that you'd be dealing with unless you lost some out of your transfer case when you pulled your axles or anything.
Yeah, you should top it off because I did lose a little bit of fluid. I actually just used it as a good time to just swap the fluid. Because especially the first thing that you probably have to do if you're rock crawling this Jeep is probably take off your skid plates. So at that point, it's a good time to service any of the fluids. Yeah.
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 Well, so you got it all bolted up. You went to alignment shop, got it all aligned. You just take it out and wheel it and beat it, or is there any other steps?
You definitely have to go out and follow your manufacturer's recommendation for break-in. So,
oh my goodness,
gear sets are
forever.
I
forever.
know.
I just want to wheel the Jeep.
Trust me, longest 500 miles of my life. So Dynatrack recommends I say recommend, but if they find out you didn't do it, they won't honor your warranty. But they recommend a 500-mile gear break-in where you're just doing very light driving.
So it's not like a step. It's not like a step speed where you drive it for 10 miles an hour for 100 miles, 20 miles an hour for 200 miles, 30 miles an hour for 30 miles. Or I'm making this up.
What they tell you to do is bring it up to operating temperature for the first drive, and no more than 30 minutes, and then let it cool completely. And then they tell you to check the diff fluid again, especially if you get the ARB lockers, because apparently it takes a little bit longer for gear oil to penetrate them. And then they just recommend normal driving and varying your speed every 10 minutes or so. So don't stick at a speed and and keep going from there. Tim says, I live in Arizona. It's operating temperature just sitting in the driveway.
Yeah, I believe it.
Well, maybe install your axles in the summer or in the springtime or wintertime. I don't know what I'm saying.
Sometime when it's cooler out.
Sometime when it's not that hot. And you might need to do the heavier weight fluid. Who knows?
That would make sense.
And don't forget to bed the brakes.
Yeah, that is very important, and one of my most favorite things to do with vehicles is to bed the brakes in. I probably mentioned it on the show before, so because you get to drive like a maniac. Well,
a little bit, yeah.
Within the law, you drive it like you stole. At least the brakes I've bedded in. You drive it
Well,
like you stole it. Slam
except
on the brakes hard.
When you're doing that, when you're braking in your gears, you need to avoid hard acceleration. So you don't get to do it as fun when you're bedding in your brakes. You have to do it a little bit more to like a normal person, not like a crazy person. Yeah. Although I'll tell you what, I burned the little nubs off my tires, off my brand new tires so fast with the bedding in process. So like I'd probably driven like almost 100 miles before I finally got the brakes, before I bedded in the brakes properly, because I was trying to figure out the brake issue with not being able to bleed them fully.
Yeah.
So the nubs had survived until I bedded the brakes, and then they just completely went away.
Abandoned ship.
Yeah, they were gone by the time I got home.
So those are the only real two things you got to do is bedding in the brakes and brake your gears in properly. And I would assume each axle manufacturer will have their instructions for that stuff.
Yeah, don't follow what I said. Read what your axle manufacturer tells you to do. Follow their process, because
call me up. I'll make one up for you. I'll make a gear break-in procedure for you.
Yeah, don't do that, and definitely abide by that, because I don't know if it's true, but apparently they say that they can tell if you didn't break them in properly.
Interesting.
So you don't want to be that guy who all of a sudden you break your ring and pinion, and now they won't cover your repair because you just didn't do their process properly.
Yep. My break-in procedure is a 10-hour break-in procedure. So 10 miles an hour for 1 hour, 20 miles an hour for 1 hour, 30 miles an hour for 1 hour, 40 miles an hour for 1 hour, 50 miles an hour for 1 hour, 60 miles an hour for 1 hour, 70 miles an hour for 1 hour, 80 miles an hour for 1 hour, 90 miles for 1 hour, and 100 miles an hour for 1 hour. Then you let it cool.
I don't know where you're doing that.
On the public roads, where else? No. Apparently, Tim thinks I'm doing it in circles in my field. I think someone would call the cops if I was doing circles in my field like that for 10 hours.
I guess you could do it on a dyno.
Yeah, a dyno would put a load on it. You couldn't just do it with jack stands. No, Kevin, I just said you can't do it on jack stands.
Some people claim you can just do it on jack stands, but
I don't think it puts a load on things. You do have some weight from the wheels and tires, but not enough, in my opinion. I'm not an engineer, though.
I am an engineer, and I don't know what to think about it.
Yeah. Follow my instructions. You'll be good.
You might run out of gas in 10 hours, Tim says.
You'll have to bring some extra fuel along with you, and somebody to ride to keep it to fuel it while you're driving, because you do not want to stop at all.
From the truck.
Yes, it's 10 consecutive hours of break-in procedure. So
don't
do it until you're ready.
Sounds like you're gonna have a lot of people breaking some gears down the road.
I want to hear how it goes.
I don't know what Kevin means by the emergency brake on 2 clicks.
Oh well, that's if you're doing it on jack stands to create a little bit of a load.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah,
But that
Or-
only works in the rear.
that's true. That's true. You'll have to get some of those like 45-pound barbell weights or something and zip tie them to your wheels. Stack a couple of those on, zip tie them to your wheels to get some extra weight.
Yeah, just on one side, so it's nice and uneven load, right?
Yeah.
And get that sucker up to 60.
Oh my goodness. Come off there like Captain American shields.
Well, I'd be more afraid it'd fall off the jack stands, and then who knows where it's going.
Rocket through your garage wall. Yes.
Seems like the right way.
That's hilarious. Yes. Yep. That's hilarious. Well, can you think of anything else that you want to tell people about braking and axles? Or we were talking before the show, we might do some more episodes on suspension swaps and whatever else.
Yeah, I think let us know what you guys want to hear about. You know, we can, especially with the JK, since I've just been through it all, we can talk about suspension swaps, doing hydro assist, you know, all that type of stuff.
Yeah, if it's not too boring, we'd love to make it a topic. So, yeah. Well, we once again appreciate everyone who stuck with us for the entire show. This one, we've actually been doing really good. I think our last 3 shows, we've been right at about an hour. So we're doing good on this one too. Appreciate everybody out there who is watching us live and commenting. It really brings a lot of fun to the show when you guys are ribbing us and we're ribbing you back. And I wish Ben was here so you guys could have made fun of him today, but you just kind of got to live with it. Maybe we'll let him in the studio next time. He's still waiting in the green room. We just didn't let him in the entire show. So appreciate you guys. Share us with your families, and God bless America. You're muted.
Don't forget to visit Patriot Patch and join the Patch of the Month Club. Check out our Gaia affiliate link for up to 40% off. Also, don't forget to head over to Warren and Power Tank to see all of their great gear. We are a proud part of the Firearms Radio Network. Got a question or comment? Send it to us through our webpage at firearmsradio.tv or through our social media channels by searching for Off-Road Podcast. Also, you can listen to us live at overlandradio.com, Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific. When off-road, please remember to have fun, tread lightly, be safe and courteous, and thanks for listening.
Yep, I realized I was muted after I clicked the button to play the outro. I just thought my joke didn't land.
I don't know why you just didn't buy a vehicle that was set up from the factory to off-road.
Oh, it is. I just made it better.